Hi there! Well, today's video is going to be all about the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. I purchased this from Ulta. It was $49 and there are 16 shadows inside. There is a nice blend of both shimmer and matte shades. You can see that 14 of them are in these cute little heart shapes, and then the other two are in a rectangular shape. You do get a little bit more shadow with each of those. But what I really want to do is just talk to you about my thoughts on this palette, go over some of the looks that I've been creating with this, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then just my overall thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I get into the review, I did want to mention that I have already done a Flash Beauty video on this palette. If you are new to my channel, you're not familiar with my Flash Beauty videos. In those, I just do swatches. So I will take the palette outdoors in natural light and I will show the palette itself, and then I will show all of the swatches on my arm. That way, if you're not really interested in hearing my review, you really just want to see what the shadow colors look like on skin, you can see those. So I'm going to link to that video here if you want to go ahead and take a look at that. I always make those less than 1 minute, so it's a really quick way to just get an idea of what these shadow colors really look like. So the funny thing about this palette is that I initially saw it when I was purchasing the Lorac Nudes palette, which ultimately didn't work out for me. I've done a review on that as well, and I just didn't care for it. All the shades were too similar. So I'm walking to the checkout with that Lorac palette and I see this on display at Ulta, and it really caught my eye, and I thought, wow, now that's a really beautiful palette. But I already had the Lorac one in my hand. I thought, just, you know, you can't get both, just get one. The Lorac Nudes is going to be perfect for you. So I bought that, but when it didn't work out, my first thought was, this is the palette that I really wanted, what I wanted to go back for. This has not been a disappointment. This has been a pleasure to work with. So as I mentioned, there are 16 shades in this palette, so you do get so much variety. It is basically a neutral palette, but if you're like me, your eye was immediately drawn to this very bright fuchsia color on the bottom. I have a bad habit of seeing something like that and then immediately dismissing a palette, saying this isn't the right palette for me. But when you look at this, and I'm sorry if this mirror is blinding, I can't, maybe I can turn it down a little bit like that. But if you cover that color up, you can really see that this is a beautiful neutral palette. There are so many warm and cool shades to choose from. There is such a variety here. And as I mentioned in the opening, there is a nice mix of both warm and cool colors and both matte and shimmer shades. So as I always do with my reviews, I'm going to split this into pros, cons, and then overall thoughts. So starting with the pros, one of the things that I really love about this palette, besides the fact that it's a really nice collection of neutrals, which I always gravitate toward, is there's also a nice blend of warm and cool colors, and then also matte and shimmer colors. Now, shimmers aren't something that I am usually drawn to. I tend to steer more toward matte colors, but the shimmers in this palette are really beautiful. So you've got satin sheets here on the top. That's one that I really love. Also, Molasses Chip is a color that I'm wearing today, and it's been something that I've been incorporating to all my looks. The pretty thing about satin sheets is it's almost a little bit of a shift color, but what I like about the shimmers in this palette is that they're not too glittery, they're not too overly shimmery. You're not going to get big chunks of glitter or sparkle in them. They go on very smoothly and they're very flattering. Even though my lids are getting a little bit crepier as I get older, I find that these are very wearable. What I've been tending to do with this palette is wearing a base color like Cashew Chew, which is down here on the end, and then I will layer Molasses Chip over the top of it, which is what I've done in my eye look today. But there is also very little fallout with these shadows. All the formulas are really nice. I think the color payoff is good. They are not overly pigmented. You don't have to be too careful with them, but there is also enough pigmentation where you feel like you're not having to layer it on and on and on. I think it's really just the perfect amount of color payoff with all the different colors. I would say that there aren't any that are really difficult to work with. I think one that does not give you a lot of overall color, but it is good as a base, is that Cashew Chew that I mentioned down here on the end. I've been using that as an all over leg color that will allow me to put other shimmers on top, and so it's kind of a nice base layer. The other thing that I really love about this is that I think it's very much a grab and go all-in-one palette. And if you watch some of my palette reviews before, I'm really big on that. If I buy a palette, I want it to be something that I can just take with me and go. I don't want to have to take this palette and then also some more highlight shades or transition shades or maybe I don't like the lid colors, maybe it's just got darker colors, or I just want everything to be in this one palette, and this truly is for me. This is something that I can just pick up. Everything that I need is in here. I've got a couple of, actually not a couple, I have more than a couple of crease colors. I've got lid shades. I've got a couple pretty transition shades like this Almond Truffle. I really like that as a transition shade. And also Mocha here, if you use that lightly, that's a great transition shade. So you've got highlighters. You've just got a really nice variety. The other thing about it is that there is a lot of combinations of looks that you can create with this, all still being pretty neutral. I am a neutral gal. I don't like to get too dramatic with my looks, but there is still enough variety here for me. I feel like this is something that could create a really pretty matte look. I can create just an all shimmer look. I can do a combination of them. I can do something that's a little bit more warm, a little bit more cool, something I would consider maybe a cooler fall look, and then I can really envision some really pretty spring and summer looks. So I love that. I feel like this is going to be a great palette to use all year long. I'm really excited about some of the shimmer looks I'm going to create in the summertime with this, specifically with the satin sheets and the molasses chip color. I think those are going to be really beautiful and eye-catching in the summertime. Some more things that I really love about this palette is while you do have a lot of variety, you also have a lot of consistency across the shades. So you're not getting some that are chalky, some that are soft, some that have a lot of fallout, some that don't. I feel like all the shades are really consistent. You're getting a really great quality across all of the colors. There is also, being that there's a nice variety, there is also quite a bit of reliability with this palette. I feel like the looks are almost foolproof, so whether I'm combining shimmers and mattes or I'm combining warm and cool, I'm getting a lot of really nice complementary combinations with this palette, which is something that I really love. I have had so much fun playing around with this palette, and it seems like in the end, no matter what colors I choose, the looks just seem to come together effortlessly. This would also be a great palette for a one eyeshadow look. I think you could make your looks as simple or as complex as you like, and you could have a lot of fun doing that. Even though this palette has a lot of variety and you can create some really interesting looks with it, the other thing that I love is that you can also use it for some really simple looks that are really quick to do, especially if you are off to work, you're off to school, and you want something that's really easy. I have found that I have been able to use one simple brush and just create one look with this. I'll apply one color, wipe it off, apply another color, and because these do blend so effortlessly and the colors are just really easy to work with, I feel like this can create a really fast look in a really simple way. So I think that's another reason it would be really good as a grab and go all-in-one palette or a travel palette, anything like that, because you can make these looks as interesting as you want or as easy as you want. So that's quite a few pros. You can definitely tell that I really love this palette, but let me talk to you about some of the cons. There's really only one, and it is my sticking point. It has to be this color Fetch down here on the bottom. Not only do I feel like, for me personally, it is not a very wearable shade. I don't really like the texture of it. It is a little bit dry. My first thought was, well, maybe this would make a really great pop of color on my cheeks. If you wanted something really easy, I could dab my finger in it, put it on my cheeks. It doesn't blend very well, so that's not really an option. And it's also very intensely pigmented, which I guess is a good thing if you really want that bright, eye-catching pop of color, but it doesn't really make it work as anything else. So it's not really something that I can envision myself using. I think that if you really wanted to make a dramatic or artistic eye look, this is going to be a really great option. You could maybe put a little bit on in the middle of your lid, and I think that's really going to draw the attention to that look. But for me, it's just not something that I am really drawn to. I think this palette would be complete and perfect without it, or maybe if they would have put maybe one more really dark liner shade or something, that would have probably made it perfect for me. So just to go over some of my overall thoughts on this palette, it is, in my opinion, an amazing palette. I think it really delivers on the versatility. I think you've got really good consistency between the shades as far as the formula. I think there's nice color payoff. I think these are all good quality shadows. I like that there's so many of them in here for your money, and I like the variety between the warm and cool shades. I think this palette would be great as a gift. This would be a really fun palette for someone who's a makeup newbie. maybe you want to have something that's easy to start creating looks with, or even if you're someone that has an extensive collection, this is going to be a really great workhorse part of your palette collection. I think this would be great for you as well. If you are like me and you love neutral looks, but you still want some variety, this palette is going to be amazing for you. You can combine your finishes, you can combine your warm and cool tones, and you can create really reliable neutral looks. But if you're someone that really wants a more dramatic or artistic looks, this is going to be good for you too. But I also think it's going to give you some really reliable colors that are going to be the basis of all of your other looks. So if you were using this on its own or using this as an accompanying palette with other colors in your collection, I think this would be a really great choice. So that is it. That pretty much sums up my feelings on this palette. I think it is amazing. I think Too Faced did such a wonderful job with this palette. It is going to be a real go-to palette for me. I have been wearing this every single day since I got it, and I just feel like there's going to be a lot of options in here for me. I think this is something I'm going to enjoy for a long time to come, and I really totally recommend it. I think you won't be disappointed in the color combinations. I think you won't be disappointed in the quality and the variety and the ability to just have everything you need all in one palette. So that is it. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.